Hello everyone, so we'll be doing a quick revision for grade 7 science periodic today. So let's start. So which process breaks down glucose into smaller molecules and releases energy it contains? So let's look at the options. So photosynthesis, breathing, or cellular respiration. So here, cellular respiration is the best option. Why? Because photosynthesis is what makes glucose, and cellular respiration is what breaks down glucose to release energy. If you want to have a quick idea about this, always keep the equation in mind. And now which equation I'm talking about? Is the glucose plus 6 oxygen produces 6 carbon dioxide, water, and the energy, the chemical energy. So keep that in mind so you know where exactly glucose is being used and where it is being made. Let's go to the next one. Burning wood breaks down molecules to release energy in presence of oxygen in the air, right? So they're releasing energy in the presence of oxygen. So what does that remind you? Again, of that, let's write the equation here. So that will be C6H12O6 plus 6O2. Okay, so they're saying in the presence of oxygen, they are releasing energy, right? So energy is being released. So what is that? 6CO2 plus 6H2O, that's water, and plus chemical energy. So now, chemical energy. So here, what does that tell you? They're telling you that burning wood breaks down the molecules to release energy. You're releasing energy, okay. In the presence of oxygen, oxygen is here, okay. And it produces carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is also being produced. Chemical energy is also being produced in the presence of what? Oxygen. So what does this tell you? Cellular respiration. And this is the equation for cellular respiration. So just keep that in mind if you want to do these questions quicker. Many organisms can undergo both type of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic. Which process produces the greatest amount of energy? Again, alcoholic and lactic acid fermentation does not produce a big amount of energy. That is only for survival or when you're cooking, right? For alcoholic fermentation, when you're cooking, lactic acid just to keep your cells alive. So cellular respiration produces the most amount of energy in the presence of oxygen. Let's go to the next one. Cellular respiration occurs in two parts. Circle the location in the first part of cellular respiration, underline the location of the second part. So remember from your ebook, what we study is that the first part always takes place in this cytoplasm. So the glucose starts breaking down there, it becomes like smaller glucose molecules. So that's where in the cytoplasm. So we will circle that. And in the mitochondria, that's where the energy is being released slowly, but mainly most of the energy is released in the mitochondria. Remember, you cannot provide yourself with big amount of energy at once. You have to provide the energy in small packets of energy. Let's go ahead. Match each process to its description. Lactic acid fermentation, what is that? Keep that in mind. They produce, the end product of the process is producing lactic acid. Cellular respiration is what? That is when your oxygen is breaking down glucose into smaller molecules to release energy. Alcoholic fermentation produces alcohol and carbon dioxide. Remember, whenever you think about alcoholic fermentation, think about yeast and when you're baking bread. So here, photosynthesis and cellular respiration, let's talk about this. So here, what does photosynthesis know? We know that photosynthesis, it requires light energy. What is it? What does cellular respiration, what does that require? Oxygen and glucose. That's what we use, even our cells. Think about yourself when you're breathing, you're providing oxygen and it's breaking down the glucose to give you energy. And then what is that? Chemical energy is being produced, and then at the end, carbon dioxide is what's given to the photosynthesis. Remember, in cellular respiration, carbon dioxide and water is released out by your breathing. So which organism perform both photosynthesis and cellular respiration? Only plants. And animals, they do not, they perform both of them, they only do cellular respiration. Let's go to the next one. By which process do animals take in oxygen needed for cellular respiration and remove carbon dioxide in their body? Here, that's breathing. By breathing, you're going to remove the carbon dioxide from your body and the water vapor, and that happens during cellular respiration. Because remember the equation, that's where the water and the carbon dioxide is produced. Now, yeast is usually added to a mixture of flour, water, and sugar to bake bread. After a few minutes of adding ingredients, bubbles of carbon dioxide start appearing. So you will see that the carbon dioxide makes the bread very light. If you don't have carbon dioxide bubbles producing, the bread will be very dense. To circle the process that leads to gas release known the oxygen is absent. So remember, what is the gas is released? Carbon dioxide is released when oxygen is absent. What is this? Alcoholic fermentation. So even alcohol is produced, but it gets evaporated while you're baking the bread. So keep that in mind. Alcohol and carbon dioxide is made during alcoholic fermentation. So after running for a long time, Sam started to breathing. He started breathing rapidly. Despite this fact, his lungs bloodstream could not deliver. They could not deliver enough oxygen to him, to his muscles, right? Because they weren't providing enough oxygen to his muscles, cells fast enough, so he was breathing a lot. The cells ran out. So what's the purpose of breathing again? It's to provide oxygen to our body. The cells ran out of this gas, could no longer perform what? Cellular respiration, right? Because the most energy that you're going to produce is through cellular respiration. And if that's not going to happen, then the body is going to shift to lactic acid fermentation. Lactic acid fermentation took over producing lactic acid. That's going to keep your muscle cells, they're going to survive, keep them alive, but it's not performing the best. So you have to stop and, breathe. And then here, this is the equation for cellular respiration. So what will happen here? It is your glucose plus 6 oxygen. That gives you 6 carbon dioxide, water, and chemical energy. Okay, so this is part 1 of the 4 sections that you're supposed to do for your periodic. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will continue with the rest of them.